Mind and the world are not separate. I see here pictures of several saints, and I am told that they are your spiritual ancestors. Who are they, and how did it all begin? We are all collectively called the Nine Masters. The legend says that our first teacher was Rishi Dattatreya, the great incarnation of the Trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Even the Nine Masters, Navat, are mythological. What is the peculiarity of their teaching? Its simplicity, both in theory and practice. How does one become a Navat? By initiation or by succession? Neither. The Nine Masters' tradition, Navnat Parampara, is like a river. It flows into the ocean of reality, and whoever enters it is carried along. Does it imply acceptance by a living master belonging to the same tradition? Those who practice the sadhana of focusing their minds on I Am may feel related to others who have followed the same sadhana and succeeded. They may decide to verbalize their sense of kinship by calling themselves Navnats. It gives them the pleasure of belonging to an established tradition. Do they in any way benefit by joining? The circle of satsang, the company of saints, expands in numbers as time passes. Do they get hold thereby of a source of power and grace from which they would have been barred otherwise? Power and grace are for all and for the asking. Giving oneself a particular name does not help. Call yourself by any name. As long as you are intensely mindful of yourself, the accumulated obstacles to self-knowledge are bound to be swept away. If I like your teaching and accept your guidance, can I call myself a Navnat? Please your word-addicted mind. The name will not change you. At best, it may remind you to behave. There is a succession of gurus and their disciples, who in turn train more disciples, and thus the line is maintained. But the continuity of tradition is informal and voluntary. It is like a family name, but here the family name is spiritual. Do you have to realize to join the Sampradaya? The Navnat Sampradaya is only a tradition, a way of teaching and practice. It does not denote a level of consciousness. If you accept a Navnat Sampradaya teacher as your guru, you join his Sampradaya. Usually you receive a token of his grace, a look, a touch, or a word. Sometimes a vivid dream or a strong remembrance. Sometimes the only sign of grace is a significant and rapid change in character and behavior. I know you now for some years, and I meet you regularly. The thought of you is never far from my mind. Does it make me belong to your Sampradaya? Your belonging is a matter of your own feeling and conviction. After all, it is all verbal and formal. In reality, there is neither guru nor disciple, neither theory nor practice, neither ignorance nor realization. It all depends on what you take yourself to be. Know yourself correctly. There is no substitute to self-knowledge. What proof will I have that I know myself correctly? You need no proofs. The experience is unique and unmistakable. It will dawn on you suddenly when the obstacles are removed to some extent. It is like a frayed rope snapping. Yours is to work at the strands. The break is bound to happen. It can be delayed but not prevented. I am confused by your denial of causality. Does it mean that none is responsible for the world as it is? The idea of responsibility is in your mind. You think there must be something or somebody solely responsible for all that happens. There is a contradiction between a multiple universe and a single cause. Either one or the other must be false, or both. As I see it, it is all daydreaming. There is no reality in ideas. The fact is that without you, neither the universe nor its cause could have come into being. I cannot make out whether I am the creature or the creator of the universe. I am is an ever-present fact, while I am created is an idea. Neither God nor the universe have come to tell you that they have created you. The mind, obsessed by the idea of causality, invents creation and then wonders who is the creator. The mind itself is the creator. Even this is not quite true, for the created and the creator are one. The mind and the world are not separate. Do understand that what you think to be the world is your own mind. Is there a world beyond or outside the mind? All space and time are in the mind. Where will you locate a supramental world? There are many levels of the mind, and each projects its own version. Yet all are in the mind and created by the mind. What is your attitude to sin? How do you look at a sinner, somebody who breaks the law, inner or outer? Do you want him to change, or you just pity him? Or are you indifferent to him because of his sins? I know no sin nor sinner. Your distinction and valuation do not bind me. Everybody behaves according to his nature. It cannot be helped, nor need it be regretted. Others suffer. Life lives on life. In nature, the process is compulsory. In society, it should be voluntary. There can be no life without sacrifice. A sinner refuses to sacrifice and invites death. This is as it is, and gives no cause for condemnation or pity. Surely you feel at least compassion when you see a man steeped in sin. Yes, I feel I am that man, and his sins are my sins. Right, and what next? By my becoming one with him, he becomes one with me. It is not a conscious process. It happens entirely by itself. None of us can help it. What needs changing shall change anyhow. Enough to know oneself as one is, here and now. Intense and methodical investigation into one's mind is yoga. What about the chains of destiny forged by sin? When ignorance, the mother of sin, dissolves, destiny, the compulsion to sin again, ceases. There are retributions to make. With ignorance coming to an end, all comes to an end. Things are then seen as they are, and they are good. If a sinner, a breaker of the law, comes before you and asks for your grace, what will be your response? He will get what he asks for. In spite of being a very bad man? I know no bad people, I only know myself. I see no saints, no sinners, only living beings. I do not hand out grace. There is nothing I can give or deny which you do not have already in equal measure. Just be aware of your riches and make full use of them. As long as you imagine that you need my grace, you will be at my door begging for it. My begging for grace from you would make us little sense. We are not separate. The real is common. A mother comes to you with a tale of woe. Her only son has taken to drugs and sex and is going from bad to worse. She is asking for your grace. What shall be your response? Probably I shall heal myself telling her that all will be well. That's all? That's all. What more do you expect? But will the son of the woman change? He may or he may not. The people who collect around you and who know you for many years maintain that when you say it will be all right, it invariably happens as you say. You may as well say that it is the mother's heart that saved the child. For everything there are innumerable causes. I'm told that the man who wants nothing for himself is all-powerful. The entire universe is at his disposal. If you believe so, act on it. Abandon every personal desire and use the power thus saved for changing the world. All the Buddhas and Rishis have not succeeded in changing the world. The world does not yield to changing. By its very nature, it is painful and transient. See it as it is, and divest yourself of all desire and fear. When the world does not hold and bind you, it becomes an abode of joy and beauty. You can be happy in the world only when you are free of it. What is right and what is wrong? Generally, what causes suffering is wrong, and what removes it is right. The body and the mind are limited and therefore vulnerable. They need protection, which gives rise to fear. As long as you identify yourself with them, you are bound to suffer. Realize your independence and remain happy. I tell you, this is the secret of happiness. To believe that you depend on things and people for happiness is due to ignorance of your true nature. To know that you need nothing to be happy except self-knowledge is wisdom. What comes first, being or desire? With being arising in consciousness, the ideas of what you are arise in your mind as well as what you should be. This brings forth desire and action, and the process of becoming begins. Becoming has apparently no beginning and no end, for it restarts every moment. With the cessation of imagination and desire, becoming ceases, and the being this or that merges into pure being, which is not describable, only experienceable. The world appears to you so overwhelmingly real because you think of it all the time. Cease thinking of it, and it will dissolve into thin mist. You need not forget, when desire and fear end, bondage also ends. It is the emotional involvement, the pattern of likes and dislikes, which we call character and temperament, that create the bondage. Without desire and fear, what motive is there for action? None, unless you consider love of life, of righteousness, of beauty, motive enough. Do not be afraid of freedom from desire and fear. It enables you to live a life so different from all you know, so much more intense and interesting, that truly, by losing all you gain all. Since you count your spiritual ancestry from Rishi Dattatreya, are we right in believing that you and all your predecessors are reincarnations of the Rishi? You may believe in whatever you like, and if you act on your belief, you will get the fruits of it. But to me, it has no importance. I am what I am, and this is enough for me. I have no desire to identify myself with anybody, however illustrious, nor do I feel the need to take myths for reality. I am only interested in ignorance and the freedom from ignorance. The proper role of the Guru is to dispel ignorance in the hearts and minds of his disciples. Once the disciple has understood, the confirming action is up to him. Nobody can act for another. And if he does not act rightly, it only means that he has not understood and that the Guru's work is not over. There must be some hopeless cases, too. None is hopeless. Obstacles can be overcome. What life cannot mend, death will end, but the Guru cannot fail. What gives you the assurance? The Guru and man's inner reality are really one and work together towards the same goal, the redemption and salvation of the mind. They cannot fail. Out of the very boulders that obstruct them, they build their bridges. Consciousness is not the whole of being. There are other levels on which man is much more cooperative. The Guru is at home on all levels, and his energy and patience are inexhaustible. You keep on telling me that I am dreaming and that it is high time I should wake up. How does it happen that the Maharaj, who has come to me in my dreams, has not succeeded in waking me up? He keeps on urging and reminding, but the dream continues. It is because you have not really understood that you are dreaming. This is the essence of bondage, the mixing of the real with unreal. In your present state, only the sense I am refers to reality. The what and the how I am are illusions imposed by destiny or accident. When did the dream begin? It appears to be beginningless, but in fact it is only now. From moment to moment you are renewing it. Once you have seen that you are dreaming, you shall wake up. But you do not see because you want the dream to continue. A day will come when you will long for the ending of the dream with all your heart and mind, and will be willing to pay any price. The price will be dispassion and detachment, the loss of interest in the dream itself. How helpless I am. As long as the dream of existence lasts, I want it to continue. As long as I want it to continue, it will last. Wanting it to continue is not inevitable. See clearly your condition. Your very clarity will release you. As long as I am with you, all you say seems pretty obvious. But as soon as I am away from you, I run about restless and anxious. You need not keep away from me. in your mind at least, but your mind is after the world's welfare. The world is full of troubles. No wonder my mind, too, is full of them. Was there ever a world without troubles? Your being as a person depends on violence to others. Your very body is a battlefield full of the dead and dying. Existence implies violence. As a body, yes. As a human being, definitely no. For humanity, nonviolence is the law of life, and violence of death. There is little of nonviolence in nature. God and nature are not human and need not be humane. I'm concerned with man alone. To be human, I must be compassionate, absolutely. Do you realize that as long as you have a self to defend, you must be violent? I do. To be truly human, I must be selfless. As long as I am selfish, I am subhuman, a humanoid only. So we are all subhuman and only a few are human. Few or many, it is that gain clarity and charity that make us human. The subhuman, the humanoids, are dominated by tamas and rajas, and the humans by sattva. Clarity and charity is sattva as it affects mind and action. But the real is beyond sattva. Since I have known you, you seem to be always after helping the world. How much did you help? Not a bit. Neither the world has changed nor have I. But the world suffers and I suffer along with it. To struggle against suffering is a natural reaction. And what is civilization and culture, philosophy and religion, but a revolt against suffering? Evil and the ending of evil, is it not your own main preoccupation? You may call it ignorance, it comes to the same. Well, words do not matter, nor does it matter in what shape you are just now. Names and shapes change incessantly. Know yourself to be the changeless witness of the changeful mind. That is enough. Mind is restlessness itself. I'm a Swede by birth. Now I am teaching Hatha Yoga in Mexico and in the States. Where did you learn it? I had a teacher in the States, an Indian Swami. What did it give you? It gave me good health and a means of livelihood. Good enough, is it all you want? I seek peace of mind. I get disgusted with all the cruel things done by the so-called Christians in the name of Christ. For some time I was without religion. Then I got attracted to yoga. What did you gain? I studied the philosophy of yoga, and it did help me. In what way did it help you? By what signs did you conclude that you have been helped? Good health is something quite tangible. No doubt it is very pleasant to feel fit. Is pleasure all you expected from yoga? The joy of being well is the reward of Hatha Yoga, but yoga in general yields more than that. It answers many questions. What do you mean by yoga? The whole teaching of India, evolution, reincarnation, karma, and so on. All right, you got all the knowledge you wanted, but in what way are you benefited by it? It gave me peace of mind. Did it? Is your mind at peace? Is your search over? No, not yet. Naturally, there will be no end to it because there is no such thing as peace of mind. Mind means disturbance. Restlessness itself is mind. Yoga is not an attribute of the mind, nor is it a state of mind. Some measure of peace I did derive from yoga. Examine closely and you will see that the mind is seething with thoughts. It may go blank, occasionally, but it does for a time and reverts to its usual restlessness. A becalmed mind is not a peaceful mind. You say you want to pacify your mind. Is he who wants to pacify the mind himself peaceful? No, I'm not at peace. I take the help of yoga. Don't you see the contradiction? For many years you sought your peace of mind. You could not find it, for a thing essentially restless cannot be at peace. There is some improvement. The peace you claim to have found is very brittle. Any little thing can crack it. What you call peace is only an absence of disturbance. It is hardly worth the name. The real peace cannot be disturbed. Can you claim a peace of mind that is unassailable? I am striving. Striving, too, is a form of restlessness. So what remains? The self does not need to be put to rest. It is peace itself, not at peace. Only the mind is restless. All it knows is restlessness, with its many modes and grades. The pleasant are considered superior, and the painful are discounted. What we call progress is merely a change over from the unpleasant to the pleasant. But changes, by themselves, cannot bring us to the changeless, for whatever has a beginning must have an end. The real does not begin. It only reveals itself as beginningless and endless, all-pervading, all-powerful, immovable prime mover, timelessly changeless. So what has one to do? Through yoga, you have accumulated knowledge and experience. This cannot be denied. But of what use is it all to you? Yoga means union, joining. What have you reunited, rejoined? I'm trying to rejoin the personality back to the real self. The personality, Vyakti, is but a product of imagination. The self, Vyakta, is the victim of this imagination. It is the taking yourself to be what you are not that binds you. The person cannot be said to exist on its own rights. It is the self that believes there is a person and is conscious of being it. Beyond the self, Vyakta, lies the unmanifested Avyakta, the causeless cause of everything. Even to talk of reuniting the person with the self is not right, because there is no person, only a mental picture given a false reality by conviction. Nothing was divided, and there is nothing to unite. Yoga helps in the search for and the finding of the self. You can find what you have lost, but you cannot find what you have not lost. Had I never lost anything, I would have been enlightened. But I am not. I am searching. Is not my very search a proof of my having lost something? It only shows that you believe you have lost. But who believes it? And what is believed to be lost? Have you lost a person, like yourself? What is the self you are in search of? What exactly do you expect to find? The true knowledge of the self. The true knowledge of the self is not a knowledge. It is not something you find by searching, by looking everywhere. It is not to be found in space or time. Knowledge is but a memory, a pattern of thought, a mental habit. All these are motivated by pleasure and pain. It is because you are goaded by pleasure and pain that you are in search of knowledge. Being oneself is completely beyond all motivation. You cannot be yourself for some reason. You are yourself, and no reason is needed. By doing yoga, I shall find peace. Can there be peace apart from yourself? Are you talking from your own experience or from books only? Your book knowledge is useful to begin with, but soon it must be given up for direct experience, which by its very nature is inexpressible. Words can be used for destruction also. Of words, images are built. By words, they are destroyed. You got yourself into your present state through verbal thinking. You must get out of it the same way. I did attain a degree of inner peace. Am I to destroy it? What has been attained may be lost again. Only when you realize the true peace, the peace you have never lost, that peace will remain with you, for it was never away. Instead of searching for what you do not have, find out what is it that you have never lost. That which is there before the beginning and after the ending of everything. That to which there is no birth, nor death. That immovable state, which is not affected by the birth and death of a body or a mind, that state you must perceive. What are the means to such perception? In life, nothing can be had without overcoming obstacles. The obstacles to the clear perception of one's true being are desire for pleasure and fear of pain. It is the pleasure, pain, motivation that stands in the way. The very freedom from all motivation, the state in which no desire arises, is the natural state. Such giving up of desires, does it need time? If you leave it to time, millions of years will be needed. Giving up desire after desire is a lengthy process, with the end never in sight. Leave alone your desires and fears. Give your entire attention to the subject, to him who is behind the experience of desire and fear. Ask, who desires? Let each desire bring you back to yourself. The root of all desires and fears is the same, the longing for happiness. The happiness you can think of and long for is mere physical or mental satisfaction. Such sensory or mental pleasure is not the real, the absolute happiness. Even sensory and mental pleasures in the general sense of well-being which arises with physical and mental health must have their roots in reality. They have their roots in imagination. A man who is given a stone and assured that it is a priceless diamond will be mightily pleased until he realizes his mistake. In the same way, pleasures lose their tang and pains their barb when the self is known. Both are seen as they are, conditional responses, mere reactions, plain attractions and repulsions, based on memories or preconceptions. Usually, pleasure and pain are experienced when expected. It is all a matter of acquired habits and convictions. Well, pleasure may be imaginary, but pain is real. Pain and pleasure go always together. Freedom from one means freedom from both. If you do not care for pleasure, you will not be afraid of pain. But there is happiness, which is neither, which is completely beyond. The happiness you know is describable and measurable. It is objective, so to say, but the objective cannot be your own. It would be a grievous mistake to identify yourself with something external. This turning up of levels leads nowhere. Reality is beyond the subjective and objective, beyond all levels, beyond every distinction. Most definitely it is not their origin, source, or root. These come from ignorance of reality, not from reality itself, which is indescribable, beyond being and not being. Many teachers I have followed and studied many doctrines, yet none gave me what I wanted. The desire to find the self will be surely fulfilled, provided you want nothing else. But you must be honest with yourself and really want nothing else. If in the meantime you want many other things and are engaged in their pursuit, your main purpose may be delayed until you grow wiser and cease being torn between contradictory urges. Go within, without swerving, without ever looking outward. But my desires and fears are still there. Where are they but in your memory? Realize that their root is in expectation born of memory, and they will cease to obsess you. I've understood very well that social service is an endless task. But improvement and decay, progress and regress go side by side. We can see it on all sides and on every level. What remains? Whatever work you have undertaken, complete it. Do not take up new tasks unless it is called for by a concrete situation of suffering and relief from suffering. Find yourself first, and endless blessings will follow. Nothing profits the world as much as the abandoning of profits. A man who no longer thinks in terms of loss and gain is the truly non-violent man, for he is beyond all conflict. Yes, I was always attracted by the idea of ahimsa, non-violence. Primarily, ahimsa means what it says, don't hurt. It is not doing good that comes first, but ceasing to hurt, not adding to suffering. Pleasing others is not ahimsa. I am not talking of pleasing, but I am all for the helping of others. The only help worth giving is freeing from the need for further help. Repeated help is no help at all. Do not talk of helping another, unless you can put him beyond all need of help. How does one go beyond the need of help, and can one help another to do so? When you have understood that all existence in separation and limitation is painful, and when you are willing and able to live integrally in oneness with all life as pure being, you have gone beyond all need of help. You can help another by precept and example, and above all, by your being. You cannot give what you do not have, and you do not have what you are not. You can only give what you are, and of that you can give limitlessly. But is it true that all existence is painful? What else can be the cause of this universal search for pleasure? Does a happy man seek happiness? How restless people are, how constantly on the move. It is because they are in pain that they seek relief and pleasure. All the happiness they can imagine is in the assurance of repeated pleasure. If what I am, as I am, the person I take myself to be, cannot be happy, then what am I to do? You can only cease to be as you seem to be now. There is nothing cruel in what I say. To wake up a man from a nightmare is compassion. You came here because you are in pain. And all I say is, wake up, know yourself, be yourself. The end of pain lies not in pleasure. When you realize that you are beyond both pain and pleasure, aloof and unassailable, then the pursuit of happiness ceases, and the resultant sorrow too. For pain aims at pleasure, and pleasure ends in pain relentlessly. In the ultimate state there can be no happiness, nor sorrow, only freedom. Happiness depends on something other and can be lost. Freedom from everything depends on nothing and cannot be lost. Freedom from sorrow has no cause, and therefore cannot be destroyed. Realize that freedom. Am I not born to suffer as the result of my past? Is freedom possible at all? Was I born of my own will? Am I not just a creature? What is birth and death but the beginning and the ending of a stream of events in consciousness? Because of the idea of separation and limitation, they are painful. Momentary relief from pain we call pleasure, and we build castles in the air hoping for endless pleasure which we call happiness. It is all misunderstanding and misuse. Wake up. Go beyond. Live naturally. Live really. My knowledge is limited, my power negligible. Being the source of both, the self is beyond both knowledge and power. The observable is in the mind. The nature of the self is pure awareness, pure witnessing, unaffected by the presence or absence of knowledge or liking. Have your being outside this body of birth and death, and all your problems will be solved. They exist because you believe yourself born to die. Undeceive yourself and be free. You are not a person.